Hey everyone, it's Kato, and in today's video, I'm going to be discussing 5 different terraforming tips to help make your island look more natural. So let's just get right into it. Okay, so the first tip I have is to make sure that you're curving your rivers and your streams. So I'm just going to show you guys first what it would look like if you just made a straight little stream here, and how it looks okay, but it just doesn't look as natural. Just one big straight line. Normally in nature, things aren't straight, they aren't perfect. So here is what it looks like if it's just straight, and then I'm going to show you guys what it looks like and how simple it is to just curve the stream a little bit and make it look a little more natural. You want to make sure that you are rounding off the different corners. So I normally try to curve it one direction, and then I go back and round every corner that I possibly can. I feel like that helps make it look more natural too. So I'm gonna let you guys watch me make this little stream here, and then I'll come back and talk some more. Alright, so super simple. Here is the finished curved stream. You can see how it just looks much more natural this way, adding just a little simple curve in it. So the second tip is a little more obscure. So I wanted to include this because it's honestly still a mistake that I make when I'm terraforming different areas. So I called this tip large cliffsides, and what I mean by that is whenever you're terraforming an area, I just recommend making it much bigger than you anticipate that you will need. And reason being, especially if you're going to do waterscaping as well within the build, you have to have at least 3 squares of cliffside. I mean, technically I guess you have to have 6 squares of cliffside, but 3 on the edge in order to have a waterfall. And then if you wanted to do a second tier waterfall, that means you would have to have even more blocks of cliffside underneath that, so you'd have to have at least 5. So it's just very easy to run out of room very quickly if you're trying to do waterscaping within the cliff. So I just recommend making it as big as possible, as big as the space will allow. And then after you do the terraforming, if you decide that it's too big and you want to make it smaller, it's much easier to do that later than to have to add on to it. So that's just a recommendation. I still make the mistake now of making it too small. You also have to think about if you want to put trees on a cliff, you have to have the space to do that, and you can't put trees on the cliffs unless you use there's a special way to do it. It's like not a hack, but I don't have the patience to do it, but in the normal game, you cannot put trees on cliffsides, so that's just another thing to think about. Okay, number 3 is probably the most simple, but one of the most effective in making your cliffs look more natural, and that's just to round off all the corners. So you don't necessarily have to round every corner. I normally do, unless for some reason I have a cliff that only has 2 blocks of cliffside, and then I'll round one and keep the other more square, because if I destroy it, it will destroy that whole section of cliff. But Beyond that, I try to round off as many corners as I can, and that just helps it look more natural as well. Okay, next thing is single lane waterfalls. I don't exclusively do single lane waterfalls, but I would say that they are the type of waterfall that I do most frequently. I either do single or double lane. So I first wanted to show you guys just one giant waterfall. And with all of these things, I'm not saying that you have to do them this way. This is just my preference. But this larger waterfall just doesn't look as natural to me as some smaller mini waterfalls would look. So I'm going to show you guys just filling in that one space of cliff. It looks much more natural to have the single and double lane waterfall here. So that's a very easy tip to making your waterscaping look more natural on your island. Okay, so I'm also going to go through and add a second tier to this cliff, and I will show you guys how I would waterscape this area with some different waterfalls, just to give you an idea of my process and what I would do, and then I'll come back and talk some more about it. Okay, so here we are with the final waterfall cliffside here. So you can see I've got the two single lane waterfalls leading into each other, and then the one on the side that kind of wraps around the cliff. This is my favorite way to waterscape, just adding these little single waterfalls everywhere. I probably have too many of them on my island, but yeah. Okay, so last tip is probably one of the most important, and that is avoiding symmetry. So I'm gonna take some time and destroy this cliff that I just made, and this was honestly kind of challenging for me to do because for some reason, just naturally, I don't make things symmetrical. So I went through and I tried to make this as symmetrical as I could, and I'm going to show you guys how that looks, and then I'm going to transform it into something more asymmetrical and more natural looking. Okay, so here I'm showing you the two single lane waterfalls and what they look like if you keep them symmetrical. I also didn't round the corners. Okay, so now I'm going to show you guys how I would transition this for my island. Okay, so this is either very similar or exactly like the last little cliffside area, but that is how I would make this into a more natural looking waterfall section. So lastly, I just kind of wanted to walk around my island, and as most of you guys know, my island is not complete yet, but I did want to show you guys just some different waterscaped areas and terraformed areas on my island. You can see that I have a lot of things on the second and third tiers. I've got waterscaping really throughout my entire island. As I talked about in my last video, if I can't think of an idea for something to do in a certain space, I just add water. Honestly, I feel like it makes everything look more natural. I love the way that it looks. So I just wanted to kind of show you guys some different areas, maybe give you some ideas on how I make my waterfalls. You can see here there is a double waterfall and then another single one next to it, kind of leading into a little pond area here. Yeah, so I really recommend adding water where you can. And yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, I'd appreciate it if you like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.